Good morning, everybody. You're back from your breakout room. I hope that you had the opportunity to meet 3 or 4 amazing people. One of the gifts of being part of this community is just the quality of the people who show up and join us. So I've just had another look at my design, at the design for our session today, and I've decided to change something. Instead of doing our normal introduction to Partners for Possibility, where we share with you the video about the program, we're going to just give an opportunity to just hear a few people speak about the program. And I'm going to start by asking, and literally this is not planned, so this is this is an experiment. I want to ask the members of the Partners for Possibility team to see whether they are able to say what Partners for Possibility is in their own words, in maybe 1 or 2 sentences. So any members of the Partners for Possibility team, let's have a go. See whether anybody could, if you just take a chance to unmute yourself and then in two sentences, tell the other people on this call, what is Partners for Possibility? And there'll be many different versions and that's deliberate. So let's hear.
I can start.
Can
I start?
Yes.
Okay. I see it as a master that is putting the school in the center of the community.
Okay.
I see it as a master who is putting education, the school, in the center of the community.
Fantastic. Thank you, Thabo. So Thabo, if I'm not mistaken, is one of our participants in this program. Let's hear whether anybody else want to have a go around what is Partners for Possibility. So what I'm trying to demonstrate to you here is that we see Partners for Possibility as a multifaceted process. It is a leadership development program. It's a education change program. It is a program that leads to great, increased levels of consciousness. It's a nation building program, but I'm interested to hear from people on the call in their words, how would they describe the program? So just a few more people and ideally members of the team. Corinne, that's going to be interesting.
So Louise, I want to pick up with your last, a nation building. PFP is a contribution to humanity, and you have an ability as an individual to contribute to the social fiber in our country. You will have the gift of experiencing that change, and you also have the presence to make a difference. So, and it's great fun, and it's real, and it's authentic, and it's messy, and it's juicy, and you will come out on the other side a different person. Nicer, kinder, real, true South African.
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful description of Partners Possibility. Now I dare anybody else to follow that.
Louise, I'm going to be brave, always brave to have to follow Karen, but yeah, I just see it. I see it as I focus primarily on the partner aspect. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for people of radically different backgrounds to connect and to get to know each other, and for people certainly like me to just meet other South Africans who I wouldn't otherwise come into contact with, and to grow relationships there. Anyway, that's what it's meant to me primarily. Fantastic.
Thank you, Simon. And there are at least 1,000 people for whom that will definitely resonate when they hear what Corinne says. So we're going to hear from Rihanna. Now, I have to just quickly tell you that Rihanna is one of our celebrated members of our community. And now I don't have the data in front of me, but she's just won an amazing award this week. So Rihanna, in your own words, firstly, tell us about your award, and then tell us what you think Partners for Possibility is.
Thank you, Louise. Thanks for the introduction. Hello to everybody. I'm the recipient of the Global Sachs Fortune Global Leader Award. The award is given to a woman in community that's doing meaningful work every year. The award also comes with some prize money, and for me the prize money means that I would be able to invest back into the school that I initially started with Partners for Possibility. What I did in my time is I started a creative hub, and where we could gauge the talent level of women that were unemployed around the school area. We're now able to use this as a pilot for starting next year. And so back to your question, Louise, what did I think of the program? I thought it was a very powerful way to engage with community, hear the voices from community so that it could drive towards more engaging, meaningful, and focused action. Okay.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you, Rihanna. So we can spend the rest of the day. What I wanted to show you is the multifaceted nature of this program. It's many things. Today, we're going to talk specifically about Partners for Possibility as a leadership development program. And not any leadership development program, a 70-20-10 leadership development program. And as I said earlier, you're going to get a chance to hear from some people who've been part of the program. You're just going to hear, there's going to be lots of opportunity to engage with people who are involved, and you've heard some of them already. So just want to say a few things about this program and around where are we today. So we always introduce, and then you can imagine the marketing people get a heart attack, but we introduce it as a multifaceted process. Yes, it's nation building. Yes, it's a leadership development program. Yes, it is. And now I just need to figure out how to admit people when I'm actually showing the screen. Anyway, it's a leadership development program. It is also a process to strengthen leadership capacity in under-resourced schools. So we're hoping to see improved education, academic outcomes, reduced inequality, school at the center of community. And it's an opportunity for ordinary citizens to contribute to a more just and equitable society. Those are all different descriptions, and they are all true descriptions of what Partners for Possibility is. This is a slightly outdated number. I think the latest figure is we've facilitated 1,350 of these partnerships around the country, all around the country, in little rural towns, in big towns, urban, peri-urban. And we have recently been acknowledged for the fact that we've touched 1 million lives through this program. It is a facilitated one-year program, and this is what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about the fact that what we've done is we've incorporated the latest cutting-edge thinking around leadership development in this multifaceted program that has some training. There's some work to be done, work in the school. There's support from a community of practice. There's leadership coaching. There's one-on-one, two-on-one. There's a variety of different opportunities to support people. And this is the picture. This is what we're going to talk about today. That this program is 70% action learning, because we know that that's where the majority, that's where most of the work happens. It's when we are learning from experience. So I have just recently come across a book by Morgan McCall, and it's called Lessons from Experience. And here's a quote from their book. They said, 70% of learning occurs on the job through challenging work assignments. It's only when we are thrown into new or difficult situations that we really grow and develop as individuals. So we do a lot of that. We take people like Simon and Brianna and many other leaders who are on this call, and we create an opportunity for them to go into an environment where they have there are no easy answers, and where they don't have the answers. Then 20% of the work happens in what we call social learning. So these are developmental relationships. It's the learning community, a community of 8 to 10 partnerships, so between 16 and 20 people, where we create opportunities for reflection and sense making, where there's a lot of leadership coaching and support by people like Corin, who you've just heard for, or heard from, or Kay, or Rosie and Dina. And then this is the 20% is what we call the Solutions Incubator. That's where people try new things, and they kind of engage other people, and together they might have a go doing some things. And for us, this is the glue. This is the 20% is what makes or breaks the experience. And then 10% of the program is training. So we've chosen and selected 3, again, world-class cutting-edge processes and built them into this year-long program. So today, you're going to hear from people who've been involved in many aspects of this program. Now, we've discovered, again, this has been after 10 years of doing this, that the most important enabler for this whole program is the learning process facilitator. And we have about, I think last count, 70 of these learning process, no, sorry, 37 was the last number. 37 learning process facilitators around the country who are working in Hotasel and Kimberley and Kuruman and Morimole and Hoedspruit. I'm just thinking of all of the people who are on the call today. And they are facilitating the program where they are locally. So I've asked Dina Cramer is one of our learning process facilitators. She's also an LPF supervisor, she supports a number of learning process facilitators, to say a little bit more about this role, because we increasingly feel that the role of the learning process facilitator is a role that we should invest in this leadership development, in the space of learning and development. And many of you on the call are in leadership development and L&D. And we think that this is a role that in our community should get a lot more attention. So we're spending a lot of time defining that role. And Dina, over to you to share a little bit about what have you discovered around the learning process facilitator and that role.
Thanks, Louise. Hi, everybody. So the learning process facilitator role, we call it LPF for short, is a mixture of 3 different roles. Firstly, it's project management. So there's an element of it which is project management. Secondly, it is group facilitation. And thirdly, it is coaching. So the project management, because PFP is a year-long facilitated process, the LPF holds that process and makes sure that people are showing up for what they need to be showing up for each other, etc. So there is quite a bit of project management, and there are some deliverables that need to be managed. And then in terms of facilitation, it is group facilitation as well as individual facilitation, because people are being taken out of their comfort zones. They're being asked to show up in new ways that are maybe different to the way that they have been showing up in leadership and just in life in general. So Louise always says to us that the LPF role is a guide on the side rather than a sage on the stage. And that's really something that I think is a bit different about PFP. So when I first joined PFP, being a coach and facilitator, it was very different to other contracts that I'd been on, where you get given the facilitator guide and here you are, you step into a process and you facilitate. With PFP, you need to be a living, breathing example, role model of the theory. So we actually spend a lot of time, we invest a lot of time in onboarding our LPFs and making sure that they not only understand the theory, but really can embody the theory and more than tell people what to do. Just by the way they show up, they're a living example of how we are wanting people to show up. So we have the 10%, the element of all the training programs. So from time to think, the LPF needs to be a thinking environment. They need to demonstrate a thinking environment. With flawless consulting, they need to demonstrate how to contract well with people, how to influence rather than instruct, and how to call resistance when people resist. From community building, it's about learning how to be a convener of community. How do you convene conversations? How do you create possibilities? From art of possibility, it's also about enabling the possibilities, and then we also use Theory U as well as part of our process. So it's really about embodying all of that. And so it's a very interesting role. We've recently been talking about how it's about accompaniment, that the LPF is really accompanying people on the journey. They're not necessarily the experts. So yes, they have the information and the knowledge, but they really are there showing up as a vulnerable human being, also learning through this process with everybody. And yeah, it's a very challenging role, but it's an extremely rewarding role where we are learning all the time. And I suppose that's also why we have the LPF supervisors there to also just help them to debrief and you know, be living and looking at how they can live and the elements of the program. It also provides us with some consistency around the program, because I think, you know, all the different people who are on this call will have a very similar experience of PFP, and I think that's because their learning process facilitators are showing up in the same way. So Louise, I can go on and on. I don't know if you want me to stop there.
We will do, I think we'll do a call sometime in the future just on the role of the learning process facilitator, because if there's anybody on the call who has been thinking about, you know, 70-20-10 programs, my advice would just be to say, this is the heart. It's the learning process facilitator. So if anybody has any questions about this, that we're creating a little bit more time today for a conversation. So please don't hesitate to just post your questions in the chat so that one of us, either Dina, Kay, Rosie or myself, will do our best to respond to that. So while you processing and thinking about what you've just heard from Dina around the role of the learning process facilitator, I'm going to hand over to Kay. So Kay Moodley is another LPF supervisor. She's also an LPF, so she's got her own circles that she works with, and Kay's going to talk a little bit about the leadership circle. So we have, in every circle, we have between 8 and 10 partnerships. So there's between 16 and 18 people. And that circle becomes a real, is a learning community and a space for learning. So Kay, you've now been part of this journey for a while, and you've got your own version on why is that circle so important? Because again, as people think about maybe implementing 70-20-10 programs, I think that idea of a learning community is a really practical and important part of the 20%. So over to you.
Absolutely, Louise. Thank you very much, and hello to everyone. Thank you very much for giving us your most expensive commodity, your time this afternoon. And in terms of what Louise has just said, the social learning relationship is so critical as part of that 20% journey that we take. Because without that, it is, you know, when one is in leadership, it can become quite a lonely space, regardless of whether you're in the education sector or whether you're in corporate. And often the space doesn't feel safe. And this allows us to create a safe learning space. So the leadership circle is really a collaboration in terms of different individuals coming together and really creating a learning platform within that community and within that platform in terms of the circle. So when we talk about community, it's creating the components of equality. It creates a component of ease, so that it allows individuals to feel that they are in a safe environment to also be able to practice the learnings that they've learned throughout this 12-month program. So we create that space for them in the community of practice workshops that we have with the circle. And what happens is that, as Dina so beautifully put it, that this way of being, we get to practice it in a space that is both fun and sometimes emotional, sometimes, and also very exciting at the same time as well. And this space really creates a sense of belonging for each individual that is there, with the most compassion, with curiosity, and with great care, and also with a lot of courage. And each individual opens up so beautifully in terms of how they show up and who they are as leaders within their own organization. So that that beautiful best practice sharing. So it's not only, it's courageous sharing when things might not be working so well and when things are working so well. We realize that a lot of our leaders are right now tasked with a lot of challenges, and we bring in this environment where they feel valued and they feel that it is a space where they can have the sense of belonging and practice with each other in this very safe environment. So as part of the program, when we meet and the partners get to share, so each individual, so we work on the I, the we, and the work, and really it's not forgetting that I am an individual in this process, but I'm also a collective in this process as well. And as a collective, we can achieve so much more, and we get to hear the beautiful stories in the community of practice workshops that we have around some of the learnings from each partnership. And during that time, we also get curious and we ask each other more questions on, tell me more. And the beauty of that curiosity allows for our own learning to also happen, also as the facilitator, as the other partners. We are continuously learning with each other. Because as leaders, we don't know everything, and the best place to actually be able to learn is in an environment that's created that has equality and that we all show up as equal beings. And also it's just allowing ourselves to show up quite authentically in who we are, and really to bring a lot of, and I know it's such a cliche to say that, you know, to talk about love in leadership, but it is absolute love, and there's no other way I can actually say it, but you just fall in love with sitting in a circle, hearing everyone's voices, each one sharing an experience, and just completely falling in love with that process, and completely falling in love with the fact that we are so connected. And to me, it's just such a resonance of Ubuntu leadership, because it really fosters such beautiful equality and a space where everyone is heard. There's no voice that is unheard during this time where we facilitate the community of practice. And yeah, so what else can I say? But please, you're welcome to come and experience it with us. But it's just, it's a heartfelt experience. It's joy. It's just so many beautiful emotions. And every time I'm in a community of practice and with the Learning Leadership Circle, it's like falling in love all over again. And it's the most beautiful experience. And simply because we show up as humans, we treat each other with each other with humanity, and we also have such just great care for each other as leaders in this community. And each one feels their own sense of belonging in the community. Thanks, Louise.
Thanks, Kay. Wow, that's so beautiful. I keep thinking, I mean, we're gonna just, this is a little ad break for everybody. Peter Block, who taught many of us many of these ideas, will be spending time with us on the 27th of October. We're going to do a session with him. But if he had to hear Kay talk now, I think he would say, Kay, his work on this planet is done, because we've got it, we're doing it, we are really practicing, and our LPFs are practicing what it means for the leader to be a convener. One of the things that Peter said in a talk recently is that maybe the most important job for a leader is to create an environment where colleagues can fall in love with each other, and where they can develop that sense of community, because then they can change the world together. So I always get a sense that that's exactly what's happening in our circles. And then what happens further with that is that that these people then go into the rest of their lives with a yearning to duplicate what they've experienced, or to create what they've experienced in the circle, in their church environment, in their workplace, in the other areas of their lives. Just this sense of respect. I know for me, one of the challenging things is once you're so used to this very respectful way of engaging with each other, when you go to a dinner party and people just keep talking over each other, I just want to leave. I don't want to hang out in places like that anymore, because I know what it feels like to create respectful spaces for people to speak into. So thank you, Kay. I want to hand over to Rosie, and then what's going to happen is that we're all going to go back into breakout rooms, this time with our key contributors, and I need to get my act in order and set those breakout rooms up. But we're going to ask Rosie to speak about that whole point of creating a space where people feel a sense of belonging and love and what that is. And Rosie has this amazing ability to just create that in her circles. I mean, Kay and Dina as well, but Rosie has a special gift. So Rosie, over to you.
No pressure, Louise. So, and I want to tie back to yesterday, Louise. So we had a session with Louise yesterday on Flawless Consulting, which to me was an opportunity in some way also a carve, because our whole circle came together. And I know some of the challenges they have in terms of connectivity and signal, and yet everybody showed up. And I think for me, it speaks to the value that they receive from coming to communities of practice. And knowing that once they arrive, they're going to find people, and Louise, you mentioned this, they kind of go, I hear it all the time, oh my gosh, I can't be in meetings anymore with people who constantly interrupt me, who are not listening. And so when they come to COPs, when we come to COPs, there's the sense of we have the contract about how we're going to be with each other. We're going to respect each other. We're going to listen to each other. And we're also going to be learning. So already from yesterday, I had 2 calls last night, 1 call this morning, all ready to go. Okay, so as a result of yesterday, this is what I'm thinking. And it's such a delightful thing, because for me as a learning process facilitator, my question always is, how do I, as the convener of the COP, make it of value? And I know we all bring the value together, but when people show up to the COPs and to the trainings like yesterday, then it's an affirmation for me and the process that we've designed, that people gain value from it. But one of my business leaders in my previous circle used to call it the secret circle. And it's this gathering of people who come together every 6 weeks. And she also said to me, you know how a party's been good when people linger after and they're not rushing to go home. And the same thing would happen after the COP, like we would hang around for another 20, 30 minutes. And it was because we had found community. And so for me as a learning process facilitator, the COPs can be places of transformation on those different levels we talk about. So as a nation building project, we sit across people we otherwise would have never encountered in our lives. And we find that we're not so different from each other. And suddenly that word humanity comes back, because we have this shared humanity and we can connect around it. And we're learning from each other as well. So it is a joyful place. It is exciting. It is challenging. And it's also, as a facilitator, convening the space for people to connect. And, we talk about this paradox of being important and not really being important in the mix, because once people are connected to this sense of community, and there's a yearning for it as well. And sometimes principals show up tired and exhausted, and they say to me, I could not have missed the COP. I'm here. Because when they come to the COP, it's this feeling of being replenished. And once again, being able to step out into the world, knowing that I've got these people around me who support my learning journey, but not just my learning journey, but me as an individual, who care for me and are invested in my growth. So again, Louise could talk about it the whole day, but again, something to experience to really get it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. So we know that there are questions, but we're also seeing that there are no questions coming into the chat. So we're going to create an opportunity for you to now go into a room with either Rosie, Dina, Kay, or myself. And in those rooms, we're going to hear from 2 partners in every case, and they're going to share a little bit about their experience, and then there's going to be an opportunity for you to be in conversation with about 7 or 8 other people. And Dina, Rosie will come back into the main room at 1:15. That will give us a chance to just have a bit more of a conversation in the main room. So enjoy your conversations. You should now all get an invitation to go to the breakout room. And I see 2 people have not been assigned. So just accept that invitation to go to the breakout room, please. Karen. Karen. So I see Polisa and Tabo and Peter have not accepted. Can I just, Taryn, I'm going to try and make you host because I want to go to the breakout room number 4.
Okay.
So if you could just see whether you could get me to breakout room. I need to go to breakout room number 4. And
Okay.
for some reason I can't send myself there. So I've made you host. You should now have access to the breakout rooms. If you could just send me to breakout room number 4.
Oh. There we go.
For managing our breakout room for us.
Pleasure.
So welcome back, everybody. We had a fabulous conversation in our room, but I'm sure that if we asked everybody else, they're all going to say everybody's had a fabulous conversation. I want to just quickly, we've got 15 minutes, and we want to create an opportunity for people to just share any thoughts, reflections, anything they want to share. From our room, what came out, and I have to admit that I kind of pushed it a bit, is a conversation around not everybody can or want to join Partners for Possibility, the program that is currently running. But the question that I'm asking is, how can we use the knowledge that we've gained from running Partners for Possibility to do things like, and then out of our group came a whole bunch of ideas, succession planning, supporting young leaders in organizations, supporting supplier, young entrepreneurs in the supplier development space, supporting young people leaving school into, so the ideas, the kind of design of this 70-20-10 program, I think has many applications, and we had a great time just talking about those various applications. But let's hear whether anybody wants to share something about what was discussed or talked about in your room, any thoughts or reflections that you might have as a result of having been part of this conversation, and hearing from, I just want to acknowledge these amazing people who have shared their stories. We have Megan Stowe, the HR director from Trafcore in PE, Matthew Manderson, who's the owner of Cyclist in Hoedspruit, Debbie Farnaby, an retired exec here in the Cape Winelands, Gun Debele, leader at Exaro, Simon Francis, a retired commercial lawyer, and the last person was Rihanna Edwards, who's the CEO of Harem Consult. So you've all had a chance to hear from some amazing people. Just want to hear your thoughts and reflections, or even if any of those 8 people wanted to say something from their perspective. Anybody want to share something? Say something, ask something, comment.
Yes, the power of that small group is just amazing. We went in there with one thought in mind and came out with 25 others, and they're all good ones. Thank you very much, everyone. And we can even do it on Zoom. That's the other thing, is that, so we had to completely pivot our delivery from our program from, face-to-face, intimate, 150 hours
And now we found that we can do so much of the stuff that we thought was not possible to do on Zoom, and virtually we can do. So if we're not going to hear from participants, I'm going to put Dina and Rosie and Kay on the spot. But let's hear first, before we do that, maybe just to share your thoughts and reflections out of the small group you were in. But is there anybody else who want to say something, or shall we go to Dina, Kay, Rosie? Doesn't look as if anybody else wants to say something. Dina, Kay, Rosie, do you want to share just something about what came out of your groups? Either of any of you.
Okay, I'll go. That's okay. Okay, I'm muting. Do you want to go first, Kay? Okay. Yeah, so I think, you know, we spent a bit of time just getting to know who was in the room together. We really spent our time just listening to two of the business leaders from PFP and one of our LPFs. And I was actually just sharing with the group right at the end that the thought that was sticking with me after hearing everybody speak was Peter Block's quote of the delivery vehicle of my expertise is my humanity. And yeah, just how we think in, you know, there's so much that business has to offer into the education sector. But when they come in there and they get confronted with the reality, it is kind of like, oh my goodness, how do we do this? And that's where the real learning kind of starts, and the unlearning. So yeah, that was just for me some of the thoughts that came out of there, and just the amazing. I was also just struck by you know, the two people who spoke, the real such love and respect that they had for their principles, and the very deep connections that they had made there. It just was really, that was something that stood out for me. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dina. And then Kay?
Well, Louise, I could have spent the entire day listening to Gun and Debbie and just absorbing myself in their experience. And I think that's why we have 2 books launched already. We need another one already, because there's such beautiful stories in our community. And one of the things for us that really came up is that sense of trust and community, and the thinking environment. And Gun spoke quite a lot about how, you know, it really impacted him even to take it into his own organization, you know, sitting in a circle, the difference it makes to individuals when they can connect at such a deep level through the learnings of the program. And that true sense, there was such beautiful sharing. And then I think Jessica ended it beautifully to just elaborate how storytelling, you know, is such a huge part of this work that we do. And sometimes the stories are not always happy stories, but it's okay. And it's okay for us to be able to share both stories, because we've created this community of trust and appreciation for meeting everybody exactly where they are. So that was just beautiful. It was just beautiful sharing. And we had Deborah, who also was so taken with everything in the stories, and her only question was, how do I get involved? So we said, don't worry, we have Judy here, so she'll be contacting you. So I think it's just, yeah, I can't imagine. I just want everybody to know about this amazing work that we do. And I can't even call it work, Louise. And I think it came out in the stories from Debbie and from Gun, that it becomes a way of being. And that's and humanity, as Dina said as well. Thanks, Louise.
Thanks, Kay. Rosie, and any last thoughts from you?
So for me, Louise, and I felt it more than heard it, saw it, was the sense of community that we were able to build and get in our small group in the time that we had, but also how immersed Megan and Matthew are. And I used R because even though Matthew's past his, and he called it his like season, and he says I speak in season and weeks as a farmer, but his season is over, and yet there is an absolute sense of it's not over. Like how do you how can it be over when I have immersed myself and I've taken the time to understand before actually trying to do something or fix, because normally the fixing is, okay, let's just fix this, and actually no, it's a lot more complicated. And that ability to immerse oneself into the community, into the school, and only from that point with the principal going, okay, so I've immersed, but I don't even think I fully yet understand the complexity, and yet we can start in little ways to move forward. And that was also the gift of what it means to be a business partner, particularly in a community where the principals might be more rural, and just that being a gateway in some way to people and knowledge and resources that might not be available to principals. So it was absolutely wonderful to share in their stories as well and be in the small group.
Thank you very much, Rosie. So thank you to all those PFBs. I'm noticing that Thabo Mlondolozi is back, but because he's been dropping in and out. So Thabo, we're not going to be able to hear your story today, but hopefully next time when we do this again, where there will be another time, we're going to ask you to then share your story, and hopefully the technology will not let us down in the way that it's done today. So we always end all of our engagement, whether it's a meeting or any engagement, certainly a community of practice meeting, with some appreciation and gratitude. So I want to now create an opportunity for anybody who has been touched or inspired by any story. So you've heard from Dina, Rosie and Kay. I'm now looking for other people on this call to just if there's a story that you heard that touched or inspired you, to just acknowledge that person, because you may never get another chance to say that to that person. And I'm absolutely convinced that there were many stories that people were touched by. So got a few more minutes to just end well with gratitude and appreciation. So I see Simon.
I'd like to say how wonderful it is to see new people. I only know Karen, but new people, Dina, Rosie and Kay. Just wonderful to see the work they're doing and the approach they have to this whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon. So that's Simon Francis, who's from the Natal Midlands and has been part of Karen's circle. Terence.
I want to thank you, Louise, for Partners for Possibility, because I think it's brilliant. But I want to say thank you that you are stepping out further, that you want to take it into a deeper place of business and other places. As we finished off, maybe even a place for sport to use Partners for Possibility. I think that's really wonderful, and if there's any way I can be part of it, I would welcome that chance. Thank you.
You're on the list, Terence. You're on the list. Thank you very much, Terence. Anybody else want to say something?
Yes.
Done.
Yes, I'll come in here. Thank you, Louise. I want to appreciate the work that PFP is doing. The relevance of your work, relevant to the school environment, the tools that we were given at the 3 workshops that we attended, very, very relevant to the school environment, very relevant to the work environment. With those words, few words, I just want to appreciate PFP for running such a relevant, effective program. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Gun. Brenda.
Thanks, Louise. I would like to appreciate each and every individual that put their hands up and joined us in the session today. There's so much leadership information and opportunities doing the rounds now, and time is limited. So we really appreciate the fact that you took the time, that you came and participated with us to experience and to get a taste of this amazing organization. And we sincerely trust that it will not be the last time that we see you, and we trust that the stories you take back with you may in time become your story too. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brenda. So there's an invitation in that for everybody. I just need to take a quick picture for our community here. There's an invitation, and the invitation is to please join us, become involved in some way. A few just advertisements. So we have published the book. Some of you have already read the book, the newest book with the latest stories, lots of beautiful stories in there. On Monday, we are having a conversation with Professor Julian Birkinshaw around continuing the theme around reimagining leadership development. We have on the 27th, get my date right, on the 26th of October, we're doing a session with Professor Jonathan Janssen around, Janssen around knowledge in the blood. On the 27th, we're doing a session with Peter Block about leader as convener. We will continue these conversations around how do we take the lessons around 70-20-10 and PFP into other places. So please remain in touch, and thank you very much everybody for showing up. And as always, we have made a recording so that we will share the recording of this call. And oh, and one last thought, if you are able to spend literally just 2 minutes to just give us some feedback about the session, then Taryn, are you putting the link into the chat for us?
Yes, Louise.
Okay, fantastic. So that's the chat function. There's a survey link if you are willing to just respond to that. And otherwise, we will also send you an email and ask for your response by email. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day.